Welcome into Five Clubs. It is a Tuesday morning here on Golf Channel. Of course, you can listen as well. That is Channel 92, Sirius XM's PGA Tour Radio. I'm Gary Williams, and this program is always brought to you by Century Insurance, right by you. Their investment in the game of golf is significant as well. Their partnership with the First Tee and the United States Golf Association. Golf Pride, when you think about your grips, it's the only thing you touch on the club. It matters most. And who's trusted more than anybody? Golf Pride, through the bag. Peter Millar, everything I wear, including this little quarter zip, representing another partner of ours, Pinehurst as well. Pinehurst is the cradle of American golf. They've got their new clubhouse at number 10, the new cottages at number 8. They've got a great new restaurant that is going to open this fall in the main resort. That is why there's always a good reason to be booking a trip to go to Pinehurst. All right, we got a lot in this hour. Brendon de Jonge is going to join me, fresh back from him walking the fairways, reporting on and being an on-course reporter on the radio side for the Open Championship. He'll be with me for the last half hour of the program. And they go from the Open Championship to something that is more modest, obviously, in scale, but it allows me to do a little story time with Gary on a Tuesday because Sunningdale is the host site of the Senior Open Championship, and this will make its way, I promise you, we'll get to the end of the road, and that end of the road is going to be Scottie Scheffler. But Sunningdale reminds me of one of my favorite stories in golf and why it is that you play a tournament and whatever happens, happens. And as Scottie Scheffler said on Sunday, see you in Memphis. Well, in 2009, if you recall, the Open Championship, it devastated a lot of people that a 59-year-old man, Tom Watson, couldn't get it over the line, couldn't make four on the last, goes into the playoff with Stewart Cink, doesn't win that playoff. A good friend of mine who runs Congaree down in South Carolina, Bruce Davidson, worked for many, many years with Mark O'Meara, obviously a two-time major champion, and Mark was playing in the Open Championship at Turnberry. And he said, you know, Bruce, why don't you and Shane, his caddy, why don't you guys get to Sunningdale? We'll start our work Monday morning for the Senior Open the morning after the Open Championship concluded. Well, Bruce Davidson and Shane made their way down to Sunningdale, and Monday morning, after the devastation, and everyone going, I can't believe he didn't win, they make their way out to begin plotting the golf course and essentially making the game plan for Mark O'Meara that week. It is a Monday morning. It is foggy. It is raining. It is just before 8 o'clock in the morning, and Bruce is getting his bearings, and he looks over on the far right-hand side of the practice tee, and he sees a guy hitting long irons, and he looks closer, and that guy backs away, turns around. They know each other, and their eyes meet. And Bruce looks at him and kind of nods, and the other guy nods back at him. That guy was Watson. The next morning, after the devastation of not winning that Open Championship 59, where was he the next morning? On to the next, which gets me to the next, because Tom Watson, outside of Tiger, was the last guy to get to 7 major championships. And I started thinking yesterday, because of Scottie Scheffler, the idea of how quickly, or is it plausible that he can do this, get to a place that few have gotten to? Because a lot of great players over the last 3 decades, whether it be 5, and we got a couple currently who still are, you would say, with their window open. Certainly Rory's is, and I think maybe to a little bit lesser degree, Brooks Koepka. They both have 5, but you think about Seve, and he got 5. And then you go to 6, and Phil got to 6 in 2021. He didn't even start his major odometer until he was after 30 years of age. And I started looking at the men who got to 7 or more. And you think about how many starts it took them, and then how much longer it took them to get to 7 or more. And let me just give you a little capsule, a little kind of history lesson here. Sam Snead. Here's the other thing about a couple of these guys who got there, whether it was on the dawn of the modern era or pre-modern era, like Gene Sarazen. Sam Snead won 4 majors, his first 4 in 30 starts, all right? He got to 7, his total, in 43, meaning 13 more starts it took him to get those 3 more. Gene Sarazen, oh, by the way, Sarazen only played in 4 major championships in a calendar year twice. 1936 and 1937. He got those 3 more. He got to 4 in 28 starts, got to his 7, his total, 8 more starts. This is building a trend. Arnold Palmer got to 4 very quickly, and then he got to 7 in 10 more starts, where his major championship haul dried up. Arnold had 6 more seconds, painful ones as well, most notably 1966, up 7 with 9 to go, up 5 with 4 to go at the Olympic Club, and he couldn't close, and Billy Casper beat him in a playoff the following day. Tom Watson, the aforementioned one. Tom Watson got to 4 majors in 29 starts. He got to 7. It only took him 8 more starts. And then we get to the guys who got to more than, and of course Watson got 1 more in 1983 to get to 8, and that's where it ended. Gary Player, he's the outlier here because he got to 4 in 30 starts. It took him 32 more starts to get to 7, and then eventually he got to 9. Hogan, how about Hogan? You talk about efficiency. 4 majors in 26 starts. He got to 7 in 5 more starts. And he only played essentially majors after the car accident. And then, of course, he won his last one. The only time he went to the Open Championship in 1953 at Carnoustie. And then Hagen, talk about efficiency. He got to 4 majors in 13 starts, and he got to 7 in 8 more starts. And, of course, Tiger, 4 in 21, and then got to 7 more starts. And then Jack, 9 more to go from 4 to 7, which gets me to Scheffler and where we're going here. And it gets to kind of a larger picture about traction and relevancy and attention and interest level. Last night, Scottie Scheffler, he wasn't on for long, and it was, I think, a perfect little interlude. Scottie Scheffler was on The Tonight Show with Jimmy Fallon, and Jimmy Fallon set it up in a smart way, saying, you know what, I want a picture of Scottie with the claret jug, and then they just showed a picture of Scottie, then they just showed a picture of the claret jug, and he said, no, I want a picture with him and the claret jug, and then the curtains part, and out comes Scottie Scheffler, and they pose for a selfie right there, and then he's ushered off the stage. Here's the thing about Scheffler, because I did some interviews yesterday with mainstream sports talk radio, and they didn't want to talk about training camp, which I'm sure they're going to start in earnest to do that. They wanted to talk about Scottie Scheffler. So here we are. I understand it's July, and I understand that football now takes center stage, and golf resides where it generally does, kind of in this niche yet affluent little avenue of the sports consciousness. But when Colin Cowherd on a Monday carves out time to explain to you that Scheffler's not Tiger, that's good, because he's carving out time. And others were doing the same. And one of the questions that I was asked was, is he boring? Okay, is he boring? I don't even know really what that question means. Like, is he interesting enough in terms of being able to gain interest beyond, again, this nice affluent niche lane that golf resides in? He doesn't have to be a TikToker, okay? He just has to keep doing what he's doing, because separation is anything but boring. Because in 2025, what is the hardest thing to do in sports? Separate. Specialization, optimization, cheating on others to try to gain the just most minuscule advantage. And the idea that you don't think athletes are still trying to stay one step ahead of the sheriff when it comes to whatever it is they might not or might be putting into their bodies as well. The idea of the money that is in sports today at all levels, including now down to, forget college, how about teenagers and the amount of money that they can garner from people who think they're going to be top of the line elite athletes soon enough? Separation is the reason why we watch. Who can gain the advantage to win whatever it is that we take an interest in? So if Scottie Scheffler keeps doing what he's doing, he doesn't have to get on social media, because let me give you a little clue. He ain't ever going to get on social media. And he's never going to do a TikTok video. And every once in a blue moon, he'll show up at a Happy Gilmore 2 premiere, as he did last night, or do just a little flyby on The Tonight Show. But by and large, it's about playing golf and doing the other things that he takes interest in. And here's the other thing about personality. He's not morose. He's not maudlin. He's not walking around like, my gosh, is he ever happy? He is a pleasantly, like resting, happy face guy to begin with. He reminds me of the character on The Office, Jim, played by John Krasinski. If you put Scottie Scheffler in that show, I think he'd fit in because he is very, in a stealth way, funny. But all those things about personality are what they are. And here is where I think people are missing the mark when it comes to making comparisons, which, by the way, comparisons are the thief of joy. We do it because it's sports. But that's the other thing about where he's going. When you start to get compared to iconic figures and the 100-year flood himself, Tiger, it means that you're entering space that is rarely occupied by others. Because how long have we been hearing MJ or LeBron? I feel like we've been hearing it, I don't know, my entire life. Because that's where LeBron has put himself, to his great credit. And I'm not saying that Scottie Scheffler has entered that space when it comes to Tiger. But here again is where I think people are missing the mark because they're focusing on the thing that's most recent, and that is understandable. He's more Jack than he is Tiger, stylistically, in the way that he kind of leads his life as far as identifying himself first as a husband, as a father, as a friend, as a brother, as a son. And I'm not saying that Tiger did not and still does not identify himself that way, but most people identify him first as Tiger, the global iconic golfer that he is. With Scottie Scheffler, like Nicklaus, when the outcome was the outcome, the next day, you know where Jack was? Sitting on an aluminum stand watching a soccer match or at a volleyball game or a football game, because that was the separation he needed to keep the balance required for him. So when it was time, when the gun went off, the focus was what it was. And here's the other thing about Scottie and Jack, the simplicity of it all. Jack Grout, who worked with Jack Nicklaus for basically his entire life, when they got together, which was not that frequently, it was very simple stuff. Randy Smith, who works with Scottie Scheffler, similarly, it's pretty simple stuff. He's an old soul. And the other thing about the two of them is that you may think that the golf that they're playing is boring because it's hole high and everything is center of the green. Do you realize how damn hard it is when you're under the gun, when you're in the deep end of the pool late in a major championship, to execute shots like that? That is the antithesis of boring. That is excellence at a level that is so unlikely to be achieved repeatedly that it is jaw-dropping and in its excellence. That's what he is. He ain't boring, friends. He is the mark. And separation, like I said, we knew that Usain Bolt, when he got into the blocks, was going to win. Did you turn away? No, you wanted to see by how much. That's why you watch. All right, we take a break here. When we come back, the Ryder Cup, because things are coming into focus. And there's one thing particularly that's coming into focus for me. It might be a repeat of Rome. Now, I'm not talking about the outcome. I'm talking about one of the sides. I'll explain that, plus Brendon de Jonge with me for the balance of the program soon enough. Great to have you with us. Tuesday edition, 5 Clubs here on Golf Channel, also on Channel 92, Sirius XM's PGA Tour Radio. Back with you right after this. Back on this Tuesday here on 5 Clubs on Golf Channel, also on Channel 92, Sirius XM's PGA Tour Radio. This segment brought to you by Peter Millar. When it comes to anything you might need, whether it's swim trunks or a suit, and anything in between, they've got you covered with all their different great collections. Go to petermillar.com. Great sale on a lot of summer items. Fall line right around the corner. This quarter zip can be yours. Heck, you can even get the Pinehurst logo on it if you want. It is petermillar.com. They have refined performance, luxury, and style for more than 2 decades. those Ryder Cup teams, I know that a lot of these players have already been fitted. We had Andrew Novak on right around July 4th. He is outside the number, obviously, but the pool is deep of the guys who have been fitted for their swag come that last weekend in the month of September. And now that the major championship season is over, it's really starting to come into focus. And we know that after the BMW Championship, the automatic side, when you think about the United States, those 6 who are automatic qualifiers, they're going to be on the side. Let's take a look at the United States standings right now. And we just gave you the 12. And like I said, the 6 is the cutoff. Harris English, by virtue of not only winning this year at the Farmers Insurance, but also second twice in majors, big haul of points there, gets him inside that number for the automatic spot. DeChambeau picks up valuable points. He's going to be on the team. Keegan has already committed to him. I really think those 6, they're on the team. Whatever happens between now and then, Harris English could fall to 9th. He's going to be on the team. But what you see there is you see a lot of change. And I'm not talking about change in the sense that none of them have any experience that are on there that you're going, well, Russell Henley's not been in a Ryder Cup. He's been on a President's Cup team. J.J. Spawn, it's all going to be new to him. And there are others as well. Ben Griffin there at 9th, Maverick McNeely. Brian Harman was on the last team that played in Rome off of winning that Open Championship in the month of July of that 2023 year. The United States is poised to have a lot of change. Change is okay. There are a lot of guys that we associate with this event, the Patrick Cantlays and the Jordan Spieths, that appear right now, unless something changes, I think pretty significantly, that they're going to find themselves on the outside, meaning that Xander Schauffele is going to have to find himself and he's going to have to find a pairing that meshes. And Justin Thomas, similarly, is going to have to do the same because Jordan Spieth, barring him winning probably a golf tournament because he's way outside of it, he too is going to have to find himself a new pairing for both four-ball and foursome because Justin is going to be on that side. And if you look historically, if you take a little, not even a deep dive, but if you look at rookies in this competition on both sides, whether it be home or on the road, it's okay. A lot of them have responded exceptionally well in the modern era to being in this competition and playing very, very well. It doesn't necessarily mean that they had some big points haul because with the exception of one session, you're reliant on a partner. So I look at guys, whether it's someone like a Chris DeMarco, and you're going, how's he going to handle this? He handled it quite well. Now, his team got dusted, but nonetheless, he played very well. Remember Zach Johnson's first foray into this on the road. He played very, very well. Again, they lost. Sergio Garcia, 1999. You're going, I know, he's precocious and he's an uber talent, but is he going to really handle this well on the road at Brookline? You kidding me? He was getting piggyback rides up fairways from Jesper Parnevik. That's how well he played. So that is okay. Meanwhile, on the European side, what is interesting is that if you look at their standings, there are some guys that you go, well, where are they? Well, one of them in particular has not been getting any points other than the major championships, so he's not going to appear on their list. But you look at their list, and there's a lot of familiarity there. Obviously, starting with Rory McIlroy and someone like Fleetwood, who has made himself quite at home in the competition. Shane Lowry's gotten acclimated to this as well. Justin Rose is an old soul and a gray head, and even though David Howell said yesterday that Luke Donald is likely to keep him hanging, meaning he's going to have to continue to kind of prove himself to some degree. Thomas Dietrich down there, Matt Wallace down there at 11 and 12. They got a shot for sure. Dietrich jumped up and won that Waste Management at the early part of this year. But if you look at those names, there's a couple names not on there. Now, Rasmus Højgaard there at 7th has had a very nice season. His brother was on the last side. I think it's possible that Europe could bring the exact same team to Bethpage that was in Europe, maybe substituting the first name of one player, but the last name being the same. Maybe it's Rasmus as opposed to Nikolai, but other than that, there's a very good possibility that the 12 guys that rolled out in Rome are going to make their way to Bethpage because John Rahm's going to be on the team. You can absolutely count on that. And I think to a much lesser degree, but because he has shown some form, and I think, again, certain captains, there are certain tendencies, and maybe you lean in to some degree on experience, which again, I think is mildly to maybe pretty significantly overrated when it comes to this. Either you are comfortable with confrontation or you're not. And there are certain players that are, and that's why I'm going to mention the name Matt Fitzpatrick, because he's been on the side and he's shown some form. So Europe may be rolling in, I think, at minimum, 10 guys who were on that team in Rome. And for the United States, a lot of change, which then gets me to Keegan specifically. And this is something that is built and built and built, and now it seems like it's an absolute certainty. How can he not play? Because this team on the back end, and I would even argue, again, this team with respect to the construct itself, you go, well, this guy and that guy, and I don't know how much we can rely on. You don't know until you get there. Nobody had any earthly idea what Keegan Bradley was going to be in 2012. Yes, he had won a major championship in 2011, but here he comes, and he pairs up with Mickelson, and they're bludgeoning people left and right, and then sat out Saturday afternoon. One of the great mysteries of all time. And this is the other part of this when it comes to the selections, which I'm going to say for the first time, and we'll probably belabor this a little bit as we go forward to when it's said and done. Whoever these captains choose, one word you'll never hear me use when it comes to this process is snubbed. Nobody's snubbed, okay? This is not an all-star game. This is a captain accepting the responsibility to construct a team to try to go win something that is far more than what it was when it was created, which was an exhibition. And for those folks who are still holding on to that word or that term, please let it go, because it ain't that. Guys cry, guys weep, guys want to fight. Guys want to fight wearing $700, $800 silk shirts and $1,500 cashmere sweaters before they're whisked away in $200,000 courtesy cars. Yeah, that was Rory in the parking lot in Rome after what happened on Saturday. Okay? This is not an exhibition. So when Keegan Bradley chooses whoever he chooses, you can be critical of the choices, but please do not use the word snub. There are 6 that are automatically qualified. After that, this is not some metric determination of who should be on the team because this guy had a better season. He's going to a particular place to win a very particular event that is a very particular format. It is wonky, it is funky, it is downright uncomfortable to play match play in a cauldron that starts from the moment they turn the lights on a Friday morning when the lights are not even up at 5 a.m. So whoever these guys choose, yes, they are right there and ripe to be picked off if it doesn't work out. But nobody's getting snubbed here. And personally, I think that the captains should have more responsibility. I think they should pick 8 guys each. This is not an all-star game. This is a competition to win. All right, we take a break. When we continue, Brendon de Jonge, he knows what it's like to wear those threads. He wore them well in 2013 at Muirfield Village. His thoughts not only on this process, but also his experience walking the fairways and seeing the environment and seeing another virtuoso performance from Scottie Scheffler. He's with me next on 5 Clubs. Back in on 5 Clubs Golf Channel, also on Channel 92 Sirius XM's PGA Tour Radio. In this segment brought to you by Pinehurst, the cradle of American golf. That's right, right here. Love going there. Amazing memories throughout my young life through my current adult life, so to speak. Looking forward to getting back there because every time you go, there's something else to take advantage of. And now it is the new clubhouse at Pinehurst, number 10, is what they call the Sand Mines. All right, joining me now, he's been there. We did the 100-hole hike. That is Brendon de Jonge, my friend. Good to have you back from Portrush. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good, G-Dub. Just trying to figure out exactly where I am, but getting there.
It's 1 o'clock in the afternoon for you.
Yeah.
You're headed to Ponte Vedra, back on the horse on the TV side this week. I do want to ask you, though, as somebody who I'm very fascinated by athletic mortality, and I don't mean this in a dark way. I mean it in athletes, whenever it ends, they got to figure out what's next. And for you, you've figured out what's next. And now you've had this experience of going and covering this Open Championship in a way that very few have the privilege of doing, walking fairways and seeing this environment, and then also seeing a performance that was extraordinary. What was the experience like for somebody who's found this new space like you have?
It was absolutely brilliant, and I had the fortune of playing just one. I really enjoyed that. This was 10 times better. Really? 10 times better. I would take this experience over playing in one of these, and part of that was probably because of how I felt about golf at the time. Yeah. But I absolutely loved every minute of this, and a huge part of it was where it was. The Irish people, they are fantastic.
They're amazing.
They are brilliant. They have this way about them that is so welcoming. I felt like I was at home as soon as I walked into the first pub. It was just fantastic. They're just the best people in the world. They
really are. Cynicism does not permeate through the culture of the Irish at all. They are, like you said, they're lovely people. They're so warm, so welcoming. That place particularly, though, you were just saying, you were taken by Portrush. Why?
Well, you said it. It's got soul. It really does. It's got a feeling. It's got a vibe to it. Plus that, and then you couple it with the people that are there watching it, people from all around the world. I mean, it truly is the Open. I spoke to people from Iceland, spoke to people from New Zealand, Australia, people that had traveled from all around the world. And the one common thing was everybody was knowledgeable about the game of golf, which just adds to that overall experience. And then, again, as I say, the soul of the place is unbelievable.
It is. What you watched in terms of the guy who won, I'm thinking about someone who means a great deal to you, and Ernie Els. Ernie Els was a 4-time major champion, one of the great players of his generation. He was in, like others, the riptide of the Tiger era. Yeah. I think his haul would have been greater had it not been. I think it's easy to quantify that. What are we looking at here? Where are we going with this guy?
Who knows? Honestly, I mean, he's not slowing down anytime soon. I know that. It's unbelievable. You know, all the adjectives used to describe his golf game right now, the clinical efficiency, the inevitability of him hitting good golf shots, and just the ability to do exactly as he should over and over and over. And I was fortunate enough to walk with him on Saturday in that third round. And I got a close-up a few times watching him hit some shots. The control of the club face, as we get a little bit more technical, from the last foot in the backswing to the last foot in the through swing, is just absolutely unbelievable. The only person that I could liken it to is a Jim Furyk. Jim Furyk had that kind of control, but Scottie Scheffler has the ability to move his ball speed up to over 180 miles an hour and is a much better putter than Jim Furyk. So it's absolutely fantastic watching this guy plod his way around a golf course and just hit the exact shot at the exact right time.
You used a word that I think is, again, this is when you start to be associated with this word, you're not only in rare, but I think it adds an element that is very debilitating to your competition, inevitability. Yeah. When he positions himself, which he does every single week, he doesn't come off the pace, and he did it at the Players, he did it in the Olympics, but generally speaking, if you look at his stats, he starts not only comfortably, he starts well. He puts himself in a place where he chokes out the field, so when they look at the leaderboard and they go to bed on Friday night, that word has to enter their mind.
100%.
He's inevitable.
100%, and that puts so much pressure on you as a chaser. You're figuring out how I'm going to catch this guy when he's not going to make any mistakes. You know he's not going to make any mistakes. You're under so much immense pressure from the time you tee it up. You make a couple soft bogeys out there, and you got no chance.
The intimidation part of golf is kind of a weird conversation because you don't look at each other physically and say, well, I'm going to do something to you that you're not going to enjoy. Right. Unlike other sports, including basketball, where you can get physical and you can really do something to the other person to shrink them intellectually and psychologically. Does the inevitability of what he seems to do to fields Is that an intimidating component?
Very much so. Very much so. I mean, his name now casts such a big shadow.
He's the shadow.
It's unbelievable. It is Tiger-esque. People are realizing when Scottie Scheffler's name is around the lead, he's not going anywhere. You know he's not going anywhere. I know he plays the game, you said it earlier, more like a Jack than he does a Tiger, but that shadow of his name is more like a Tiger than anything else.
Yeah, the other part about Jack and Scottie that I think is similar is the efficiency of driving the golf ball. Mm-hmm. Tiger got errant. I think Tiger, me personally, had technology advanced as quickly as it did around the turn of the century to where he eventually had to put a graphite shaft in that driver. He was so, if it doesn't change, I don't know what would have happened if everybody had to keep steel in that. But anyway, my point is, Jack was a very efficient and prodigious driver lengthwise of the golf ball, even into his 40s. He led the total driving stat at 40 in 1980. Yeah. That's where the other thing is, when the hole starts, he's generally playing from the fairway, and then he gets to his greatest strength, which is his ability to strike it out of the center of the face, and it's hole high. I think that is so fatiguing to the competition to see that. Like, does he ever not hit a ball to the right weight? That, to me, is also debilitating to the opponent.
I was walking with Bones, and we were talking about this uncanny knack to hit everything pin high, regardless of condition-wise. You know, we're talking crosswinds, into the wind, downwind, to always get it in pin high and in the correct part of the green. I mean, if you're playing against that, you've just got to shake your head and like, I don't know what to do against this guy, because he's not going to make a mistake. And then when he does make some sort of mistake out there, he's now got this short game, and he's got this short game to go with it, and then he's turned himself into a wonderful putter. There was a rough stretch there on Sunday where he did it a couple of wayward shots, and he made these just unbelievably good putts to keep all the momentum on his side, and again, just choke out the competition.
The last thing with respect to him, I used this term yesterday doing some radio, trying to explain who he is to mainstream sports talk, and I love it. I love that there's a curiosity at minimum from people who kind of dip their toe in the golf waters occasionally, and because of what he's done, they're now trying to understand who he is. He doesn't take days off. His production is unrelenting. My example this year was the Travelers on Saturday. Made a triple, a double, and a bogey on the opening 9, turned in 39. You're going, all right, I get it. Look, he's tired. Well, he came in 33 and finished tied for 6. He plays broke. There are no days off. That is, to me, the most admirable thing about any athlete. Like Jordan. Jordan played all 82, year in, year out. He's in Vancouver. He's in Memphis. It doesn't matter. He's going to give the crowd what they want, his best.
I'll take that to the next level. He doesn't take shots off.
There you go.
Every single shot is like it is the most important shot there is out there.
Let's get to some others. Give me some guys who had weeks that you think may be the kind of weeks that are building blocks. May not show up in the next event, but 8 months later you can go, let's go back to Portrush. That was either a turning point or an important inflection point. Someone like Harris English. Yeah. Let me start with him. 2 seconds in majors. Off of surgery, over a year ago, has been on a Ryder Cup team. Is he getting to a place that maybe he's never been to before?
Yeah, very much so. And I remember this vividly. My dad always used to ask me, he said, give me a name of a young guy that's just coming out that you think is really going to do some things in this game, that's going to win some majors. And Harris English was a name that I gave him. I think this was back in 2013, right when Harris was coming out, just getting started.
Yep.
Harris played really well at the beginning of his career, then kind of dipped, and as you say, dealt with some injuries. I think Harris now is to the point where he's starting to believe how good he is. Like, he's starting to see his name in these biggest tournaments up at the top of the leaderboard, and he's starting to feel like he belongs there. I mean, the golf swing's never been in question. It's a beautiful golf swing, still hits it a long, long way. I would not be at all surprised to see Harris win a major soon.
Okay, Chris Gotterup. This is fun.
Yeah.
It's fun to see wherever the person is from, whatever their background, to get spotlight like he did at the final round, in particular of the Scottish. He's with Rory, and the guy he was level. He was the best player on a championship Sunday, looking at the biggest star in the game, and then he goes off, and you're going, who knows? He's got to be gassed. Who knows? If he makes the cut, hey, whatever. He finishes third alone. What are we watching here?
So we were I was tasked with getting guys off the 18th green during one of the practice rounds to come and spend a minute with us on Open Championship Radio, just some of the American guys that I knew. And I went to Gotterup and I said, hey, Chris, would you mind just coming and talk to us? I know you won last week. He came over there and we couldn't get rid of him. Like, he came and stood by the side of the 18th green, what was supposed to be 1 or 2 minutes. He was there for 10 or 15 minutes, just absolutely just enthralled. He was so excited still from that Scottish Open win. And then parlayed it into an unbelievable week this week. This guy's got something about him as well.
He does.
He's got something about him. I know we'll get into this a little bit later, but I would not be at all surprised to see him on that Ryder Cup team.
Okay, we are going to get into that. There are, not everybody, but more now than I think ever, because of their opportunities to play in PGA Tour events, to get cards, put them in their pocket. Talking about a Luke Clanton, guys like that, who I think, and I said it, a couple times this year, he has a stench of belief.
Yeah.
He has an aroma that he belongs.
Yeah.
Gotterup gives me that same vibe. Like, you look at him, and I kind of go old school with him. He's got a Lanny Watkins, like, yeah, look at me. I belong here. Understood?
Yep.
He has that stench, does he not?
Oh, 100%. And again, fun to watch the guy play. I like it. He's got all the buttons down. He's got the chain hanging out. It's kind of
so
the
Jersey,
old school,
man.
Yeah, kind of old school, straight off Jersey Shore or something. But it's I like this guy. I like this guy a lot.
Yeah, Little Silver is not exactly Pleasant Point or Point Pleasant, but nonetheless, yeah. I mean, all of it. And again, I know he does the glove with it unfastened, but that alone, that is like, yeah, I don't even need to do this.
Yep.
I'm good. Rory's week. Give me a summation of Rory McIlroy's week, if you would.
I think Rory did very, very well handling everything this week. There's a lot of pressure on you when you have that much of a home field advantage. Sure, it's great that you've got everybody cheering for you, but you don't want to let them down. You don't want to let those crowds down. I think Rory handled himself very, very well for the entire week. Was a couple couple loose tee shots here and there from really contending. But I think when all the dust settles and Rory looks back at this week, I mean, he's going to look at it as probably one of the greatest weeks of my life, honestly. I know he didn't get the job done, but to play in front of all of those people and to really acquit himself very well, I think Rory has got to give himself an A+ there.
I'm with you. I'll never say that a home field advantage in golf or the going home part is overrated. But I think there, as you said, there are inherent challenges to it. There's an emotional component that is unlike anything you experience anywhere else that you go. That's why there's been a million movies made about people going home.
Yeah.
There's complexities to it that are hard to explain. And you probably think things and feel things that you wouldn't any other time. I think for him to compartmentalize all of that stuff as well as he did, he was on the verge of maybe feeling like he could apply some heat, but he never really put hot breath on the back of Scheffler's neck. He didn't.
No, he didn't. He was always just sort of in the periphery, just outside of that. I mean, you want to talk about the most anticipated opening tee shot, though?
No question.
Good Lord. I can't imagine what Rory was thinking, the night before, trying to get it out of his mind about this opening tee shot that he was going to have to hit.
No doubt. DeChambeau, I'll never discredit any type of performance off of the round that he had on Thursday. Wind laid down. I think that certainly was advantageous for him, but still, nonetheless, it was an important week for him because if I don't think he was never not going to be on the side, but when it comes to him, you feeling like he has the totality to do it anywhere, again, when the wind blows, I still think he has to answer that question. But credit to him, right?
Oh, very much so. I couldn't agree with you more. I think Bryson got a great break there. There was some breeze Thursday, and he struggled on Thursday. He's always going to struggle until he changes something there in his game with when the wind does get up. Hits the ball higher than anybody else out there. But he showed some moxie to really play his way back into that. And I think it showed goes to the character of Bryson, like how much this really does mean to him. He's another guy that's he's got no give up in him, which really is great. And for a Keegan Bradley, you've got to love seeing something like that.
I think that's important. He too has a maniacal way about every shot has great value to him. There is a competition on the line with every strike. All right, we take a break. When we come back, much more to get to with Brendon as it relates to the Ryder Cup. A lot of same, maybe a lot of change when you look at the way these two teams are going to be constructed. Those thoughts coming up right here at 5 Clubs Golf Channel and on Channel 92, Sirius XM's PGA Tour Radio. Back with that right after this. Back in on 5 Clubs, this segment being brought to you by Golf Pride. If you see a little wispy guy playing Golf Pride Align Max grips with that reverse taper putter grip in the Chicagoland area at the end of this week, that would be me. I've trusted them my entire life in the game of golf. More players do, whatever level. It is Golf Pride through the bag. All right, Brendon de Jonge with me, still back from Portrush. I was saying that the ramifications now, we've got the major championship season behind us, the points haul associated with that. When we pull up here the American side, I want you to just focus on some things that stand out to you. Again, there potentially could be a lot of change here. We know that there are some players that have no experience in the competition going to be here. What stands out?
That there's some little bit iffy towards the bottom of that list right there. As I look at that, I would say that the first 7 are locks, all the way through Justin Thomas.
Locks?
Would be locks, yeah.
Did you put number 10 as a lock? Oh, you have him on the team.
I have him on the team.
Okay, he's a lock.
He's a lock in my mind. In his mind, I don't know yet.
Come on, those guys, he's playing golf at Bethpage. What else he's going to do there remains to be seen.
I think it's a big mistake if he's not playing golf at Bethpage.
Okay.
I mean, we talked about this the other day. There are not 12 American guys that are better equipped to deal with the Ryder Cup. It's a pressure cooker unlike anything else. He's proven it. He's proven that he can do it.
So here's the interesting part about him. And again, this conversation has bubbled up, and it's going to remain because we haven't seen this. And even when Palmer did it, it was a very different thing than what it is now. This thing is a beast to handle in every conceivable way. As the captain, he has a responsibility to pick the guys he thinks are best equipped based on the golf course itself, the way it's going to play, and the environment. Like you say, who does he think is equipped to handle confrontation? Because that's what this thing is. He's one of those guys. So he's a lock on that team. Give me some guys. You think Morikawa is now in real peril?
Yeah, very much so. Very much so. Steady decline the second half of the season. Played really poorly overseas for the Scottish and the Open. Missed both those cuts by a ways. Morikawa's not playing great. And then you look at the golf game of Colin Morikawa. I understand the iron game is typically the strength. Bethpage is also a big golf course. It's a really big golf course. Is that something that goes against him as well? He's not the longest driver by any means.
He's not a reliable putter either.
He's not a reliable putter either. Can you pick him just on the iron game? So Morikawa is going to have to do something through the playoffs to get a pick on this team.
Cantlay in great peril as well, right?
Very much so. Very much so. Same sort of thing for Patrick Cantlay. I think he is ultimately going to end up playing on this team because, again, yes, he's proven that he can deal.
Yes.
He can deal with the pressure cooker that is the Ryder Cup. But I think we will see Cantlay. I think we're going to see Ben Griffin. I do think Ben Griffin's going to be on this team.
Okay.
He's still, when I listen to him still speak, he's still got this not a cockiness, but this inner confidence.
He does.
He's got a little swagger to him. I think he's going to play some good golf between here and there and keep himself sort of in that 8-9 spot where he'll get a pick.
Okay, last American question on Gotterup. Is there anything quantitatively that he has that you think would kind of tip the scales? Is it a performance in the first playoff event? Give me something, last impression for him before the BMW. And again, it's not about the automatic part of it. What does he have to do?
I think if he gets himself into contention one more time. I think if he plays himself into contention one more time. I mean, this is a Jersey guy going to play up there.
Oh, he's a Jersey guy.
Yeah, I mean, he would absolutely thrive in this as well, I believe, just from watching him and being around him. Yeah, but I think he does need to show just a little bit more before he gets that pick.
Okay, let's quickly put up the European standings. and I was saying this when we showed it earlier, a lot of sameness. I think Rome, this is a Rome repeat in large measure when you look at this team. A lot of guys who were there.
A lot of guys that were there. I know you talked about it, that you switch Højgaards, you put Rasmussen, take Nikolai out.
Rahm's going to be on the team. He's not on the list, but he's going to be on the team.
Rahm, after Rory McIlroy, John Rahm would be the second name that I'd put on the European Ryder Cup team when I'm writing that list down. Rahm will be there 100%, no doubt about it. Towards the bottom there are some questions. Thomas Dietrich obviously played well early in the season, hasn't played great as of late.
I think Fitzpatrick is making a move here.
Very much so, and Matt Fitzpatrick's a guy that's got some veteran. He's got some veteran leadership on it as well. He's played in a couple of these things. He is starting to show some form. I mean, Matt Fitzpatrick at the start of this year was shocking. He was awful.
Yes.
Flipped something around at the PGA Championship. And
Mark Blackburn, he's gotten thoughts that obviously he has responded to. I think if you substitute the first name, the last name's the same as opposed to Nikolai, it's Rasmus. Everybody else, Fitzpatrick, good chance I think of being on there. And you look at all these other guys. Oberg's going to be on the team. I think Hovland's going to be on the team. All these guys, it's going to be very interesting. All right, my friend, you were off to Ponte Vedra. I'm so glad that the experience you had at Portrush was what it was. I mean, for you to have that and to walk those fairways, the environment was as good as anything, wasn't it?
It was everything and more, Gary. It really was. It was one of the highlights in my golfing career, no doubt about it.
Okay. What has not been a highlight is your picks this year. Everybody looks forward to it for various reasons on a Wednesday. That's what we have to look forward to. You travel safe. It's great to see you as always. Picks, and most importantly on Wednesday, dogs. Have a good rest of your day. We'll see you on a Wednesday here on 5 Clubs.